Hello, my name is Avery Fast from Troop 3185, and I'll be explaining my stage managing process for Seussical, conceived by Lynn Ahrens, Stephen Flaherty, and Eric Idle. Although being a stage manager means you kind of do a little bit of everything, I find that my biggest responsibilities were all linked to organization, which included physical organization like creating spaces for props and set pieces backstage, but also keeping track of progress being made in all aspects of the show, such as construction, lights, and sound, or even how rehearsal time is being divided. Early on in the rehearsal process, I went through our entire rehearsal schedule and checked to make sure every song had at least a day for learning music, a day for learning choreography, as well as making sure speaking scenes had blocking scheduled. When I found songs or scenes that were missing on our rehearsal schedule, I ensured that the directors were informed and that a second draft of the rehearsal schedule would be created. Not everything was related to organization throughout the show, though. Some other tasks I wanted to highlight was assisting in blocking, taking notes during dress rehearsals, and keeping actors on schedule during performance nights. The director's concept was a huge influence on my work. It was her first time running a musical, instead of a regular theater production, which meant that she had tons of ideas to bring to the stage. It was my job to collaborate with her and our other directors to figure out which ideas were possible in the amount of time and money we had. This was a process that was happening up until the week of the show. We had to make decisions on which part of the shows weren't working or what we knew wouldn't be completed on time. Near the end of the show, we had to get creative with quick replacements to fix last minute problems. Seussical's style influenced my work in two main ways: color and the number of leads. Seussical is a crazy colored show, which differs from any other show I've stage managed before. Instead of working on a period piece musical, such as Beauty and the Beast, or a modern era production, we special ordered bright colored paint and outlined the entire set in black to give it a cartoony feel. So the biggest impact of the show was from color, but the biggest impact on me was the number of leads. Seussical had five main characters, with another four large supporting roles. This meant more time and work in many aspects, such as distributing mics, spotlights, special props associated with characters, and rehearsal time. All of these aspects had to be split up between more characters than usual, which made my job of organizing all those aspects more complicated. The most challenging aspect of unifying my director's concepts was the fact that I actually had three directors: a musical director, an acting director, and a technical director. I worked closely with all three, but it was difficult to manage their opposing ideas to combine into one show. Their ideas didn't always slot together, and sometimes communication about small details fell short. As I explained before, quite a large chunk of my time was spent communicating what one director needed to another. I think the biggest thing I learned from stage managing this show was taking charge of a situation. Seussical is a crazy show with so many little details. I quickly realized throughout the production process that the directors didn't want me to check in with them for every little idea I had or problem I noticed. So I began to just share those notes with the actors who it affected. Whether it was changing an actor's entrance or fixing a prop by myself, I began to lead instead of always following my directors. For example, one of our shows had a large part that was choreographed for the ensemble, but the leads hadn't been given anything to do. I took it upon myself to block them for the whole song, and that ended up being the finalized blocking during the show. I'll be able to take this independence in making decisions to all aspects of my life, such as a classmate, student, and future employee. We had one large production meeting at the very beginning of the show process, even before rehearsals had started. We wanted to plan our technical process more efficiently this year, and I played a large part in facilitating that. I created a document for interested techies to sign up each week and what their intended field of work would be. This was created so that we could have a better idea about what could be done during the week so we could plan effectively for our goals and deadlines. For example, throughout this week, 7 people wanted to help with set building and painting, but only 4 people wanted to help with costumes. Now, the technical director and I could adequately assign tasks to the amount of people we expected to have. Later, once we started adding aspects like lights, sound, and mics to rehearsal, we would have daily production meetings after rehearsal. I would take notes, both physical and mental, during rehearsal to keep meetings short and concise. I started with reviewing any major problems I saw, before asking others if they had anything they wanted to go over with our group. Once we finished discussing problems, I would create a plan of action for the next day. For example, lights usually had the most issues, so we would plan for them to come in earlier to work on any spotlight or cue issues that needed fixing. Finally, I wanted to go over a couple of the documents in my portfolio. While some, like the mic plot, are fairly self explanatory, other documents needed a bit more of an explanation. The first one I felt deserved a bit more of an explanation was the props checklist. The digital document in the portfolio is from the very beginning of the show and doesn't represent all of the options from the key on the right. Throughout the rehearsal process, we added colors to represent more categories, but by the performance dates, everything was green and ready for the show. The second document I wanted to analyze was the shift plot. Our shift plot was organized by song instead of scene because Seussical doesn't have enough blackouts long enough to implement a run crew moving set pieces. In each song section, there are 4 boxes: 2 blue boxes to represent what is being moved on stage left, and 2 red boxes to do the same on stage right. Then each item being moved has the corresponding person moving it next to the prop. Because we didn't have a run crew, we utilized actors to move our set pieces and props on and off stage. And this is our digital portion of our light cues. They are clearly labeled by page number and line along with what light effect should happen. This wasn't even close to all of our light cues. These were just the light cues I wrote down during rehearsal when our director would shout out something she wanted during that scene. Most of our light cues were written down in scripts and used during the rehearsal process and during the shows. Thank you so much for your consideration. Seussical was a wonderful show, and I'm so glad I was able to share that process with you.